Hello everybody, the Best Spice here. Welcome to another review video, and today I'm going to be reviewing this guy. This is the WE Knife Typhoeus. This is an adjustable fixed blade. As you can see, it has the push knife configuration, but just one simple movement like this, boom. And now it's a standard fixed blade configuration. That is actually really neat. The mechanism of this thing is wild. Let's look at that. And it doesn't require much effort to push it in and out of, to transform it into the push knife and the standard knife configuration. It's really easy to use, very easy to manipulate. On this review, I'm going to tell you some of my thoughts, show you a little bit of a cutting test with this. I'll get to that eventually. I'm going to cut away to a cutting test with this guy. But first things first, let's get through some specs on this guy. This knife has titanium handles. These are the blue ones. I saw that they also have black and gray, so if black is more your style, or you prefer just an all gray knife, then they also have those colors as well. This guy has the steel it's rocking is CPM 20CV, which is a powder steel, and I love that steel so far in my experience with CPM 20CV. It holds its edge for a very long time, and it takes a nice razor sharp edge. I used the WE, it was the WE Elementum, and I used that for a very long time, and all I really ever needed to do is, I believe I just put it on a strop when it felt like it was getting a little dull, and it was like right back to business really quick. So I really like CPM, so seeing it on this knife is really nice. The price on this guy, of what I've seen on the WE website, is $350.60. 60 cents, okay. On Blade HQ, it's $298. So, yeah, I got this from Blade HQ. It's a much better price. But yeah, those are just the two places where I saw you can get this. And so this knife has a flat grind blade with a silver bead blast finish on the blade, which is really cool looking. I really like the style of it. Looks really cool. And so far on the WE website of what I saw, the hardness of this knife is around 59 to 61 HRC. So do with that information what you will. The blade shape is it's like a clip point. So you can kind of see that it has like a clip point, but like that. And then the blade has kind of like two edges right here. They don't actually go up to a full belly like a drop point blade does. It actually has a point right here where it kind of transitions to just another edge. I'm not sure if you can see that if it's coming through on camera very well, but it's not a smooth transition from belly to tip. It actually goes like down and then belly, which is kind of cool looking. Probably going to be hard to sharpen though. I'll probably just end up turning it into a smooth belly if I ever have to sharpen this. Titanium on this is 6A L4V. I don't really know too much about titanium types, but that's what it says on the WE website. Also, I've seen, I don't really know too much about it, but I've seen that they have a Civivi version of this knife. So if you prefer something a little bit more budget friendly, it's still what I've saw higher than $100, but it's a little bit more budget friendly than checking out $300. So if you like the transforming style, but you want something a little bit easier on the wallet, then there's a Civivi version of this knife.
Alright. Let's check out the specs on this guy, and then I'll send you back over to the big funny fox. Alright, let's check the weight on this. Boom. Good golly. There we go. Wish things will respond. Alright, let's see. The weight with the sheath, 4.62 ounces. Weight without the sheath, 3.41 ounces. And then weight of the sheath, 1.21 ounces. So, fairly light. Alright, length of this guy. From tip to handle, around 4.5 inches, so that's pretty good. Handle from this angle, 3 inches. Alright, now its length in this configuration. Overall length, just a little bit over 6 inches. Handle is, well, yeah, 4 inches. Blade length, let's do cutting edge. You get just a little over 2 inches of cutting edge. And the overall blade length is, yeah, almost 2.5 inches. Not bad. Alright, I'll go use my calipers, but unfortunately, I ran out of batteries and I don't have any spares. So we're just going to have to kind of like eye the numbers. So here, this side is the millimeters, and this side right here is the inches. So the blade thickness on the spine, it's very low, just like so. Right there is an inch, so it's just like 0.10, give or take. Okay, handle. Let's see, the thickest part. Let's go here. There we go. So it's at the 4 blade. So that's very thin. So that's all I wanted to show you. Here's a little bit of a closer look of it in its sheath. Alright, back over to the fox.
Alright, let's do cut test with the WE Adjustable Fixed Blade Typhoeus. This is a really cool fixed blade. Alright, it has a very short blade, so I do not expect it to cut all the way through the bottle, because there's just not enough cutting edge to really get all the way through, but I kind of want to test it out to see how well it cuts through the water bottle, and if it cuts really well in the push dagger formation and the standard formation. So let's give it a try. It comes in a black leather sheath, so the belt loop can only be put on with your belt, so you can't just take the knife on and off. You have to take your belt on and off to put this knife on. So that's one of the negatives, but not really that big of a deal. Just, you know, one of those things that I do like the convenience of like cold steel knives where you can just take the knife off without removing your belt. Not too much of a big deal though. It only folds, it only sheaths in the push dagger formation. But I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. The general review, this is just the cutting test. So let's give it a whirl. Starting off in the push dagger form. Alright, so it did slice pretty good. Try it again. Shorter blades, it's really hard to get the edge alignment just right. Alright, well, pretty much killed it. do one. Now, in a standard form. Okay, I hit it on the top. Alright, it does cut pretty deep. I missed that one. Oh, wait. No, I didn't miss. I got it. Let's try a thrust. Alright, well, that is very sharp. It didn't even feel, like when I penetrated it, didn't even feel like any resistance. It just went through and then sliced. So, it does really well on thrusting. Try it again. Yeah. It may not go all the way through, but it is very sharp. Just little flicks actually do a lot of damage. Alright, let's try it again. So let's do the punch dagger way again. Then I'm gonna punch it. Whoa. Do you see that? So this knife does really good at thrusting because the way how the blade is shaped, it penetrates so well, and then it pushes down because of that swedge. So it pushes down, and it just keeps cutting. That cuts really well. It's not the best, like, at cutting these bottles in half completely, like the cold steels do, but those are bigger knives with a lot of space. This one does not have a lot of space to play with, but it is very sharp. Definitely sharp. So I like it. One of the only things I've noticed so far, no edge deformation that I can see. No other issues. There's not actually much damage on the blade. The only thing I've noticed is that in the punch dagger, when I did a slice, not a punch, when I did a slice, it wants to kind of go up, so it pinched my finger. So good thing I'm wearing my gloves. Otherwise, I don't think it'll be that much of an issue. All right, since now that we're done with the specs, I'm going to give you some of my personal thoughts on this knife over the time I've been carrying it. And to be honest, when I first saw this knife, I figured that the transforming aspect is just a gimmick, nothing really practical about it. Just something to like, oh look, it's cool, it transforms. But I was kind of afraid because you know the rule: the more parts, the more things that can break. So this has a lot of parts, a lot of things that can go wrong with it on the internals. If anything breaks, then the whole knife is rendered useless. But as I was doing the cutting test on water bottles, it actually held up very well. Nothing seems loose in anything. One of the things I did when I first got this knife is that over time of transforming it, the screws got tight, and it required strength to transform it. So I just loosened the screws a little bit on the body screws, as you can see. So just loosen the body screws a little bit, and you can either make it more stiff or more loose on the transformation. So that's also something you can do to customize to your preference if you want it a little bit tighter or if you want it a little bit easier to manipulate. And then during the cutting test as well on the water bottles that I was doing, I noticed that when I was cutting this way in the push knife configuration, it was pulling up a little bit and squeezing on my finger. So not a really big issue, especially when I'm wearing these cold steel gloves. These things protect my fingers very well. So it didn't really hurt, but I noticed that there was pressure there. So if you're not wearing gloves, you might feel a little bit more pressure, might cause you some damage depending on how hard you're punching something or slashing something in the punch dagger configuration. That's just something to keep in mind. I don't think it's really that going to be that big of a problem, in my opinion, because for the most part, you're probably just going to use this to open up boxes. The other thing I noticed that what makes it actually more practical and not just a gimmick of a transforming knife is one, this is good for self-defense because this is the most this is the most secure way to grip a knife. There's no way that this is going to come out of your hand unless, of course, you have the world's weakest grip. This is really secure and it is very good and easy to use. And you're using pretty much all your strength into one focused area. So this is really good for self-defense. And then instead of carrying two knives, one for practical use and one for self-defense, you have your self-defense and your practical knife all in one. So that's actually pretty practical. In my opinion, I think that's actually really good. So you don't have to carry around two separate knives. If you're wanting to carry a fixed blade, you don't have to carry two separate fixed blades. And one of the other things I noticed that what makes this transforming knife particularly practical and actually really good is how easy it is to carry. Since that it's a small knife, but if I was holding a sheath, it would have to go in somewhere around there. So you have that much handle sticking out if you had a sheath that kept it in this configuration, like a regular fixed blade, right? But this one goes in that configuration into the leather sheath. So what I've noticed when I was carrying this, I did not have that handle poking my side anywhere or getting caught on anything. So it probably won't get caught on like seat belts or whatever else your fixed blades get bumped into. You don't have to carry a sling to keep your fixed blade lower, so then you can reach the handle, not have so much handle and knife to pull up. This is actually very, very good and very compact, easy to use, so it doesn't poke you in the side or have any difficulty deploying. So I think that's actually a really cool and practical aspect about this knife, is that you can store it in a very compact way, and then if you want it in a more practical way, you just go right there into a standard knife configuration. So actually I think that's pretty cool. So in my opinion, I don't think the transforming knife is completely a gimmick. Yeah, it's definitely not like 100% secure. There's things that can go wrong with that many parts moving around on a fixed blade. So it definitely won't be used for any hard use. You will want a dedicated fixed blade for something that you're going to be, beating the crap out of. And I almost forgot to talk about the leather sheath. It comes with a black leather sheath. It has a nice little stud, which is nice. Keeps the knife in and secure really well. I really like that. Okay, so my overall review of this knife, the WE Typhoeus, I actually really like it. I think it goes really well for a self-defense knife and a practical, just regular slicing knife. The blade is very slicey. It held up very well in the cutting test that I showed you. And it still cuts very well, paper and all that stuff after hitting all them bottles. And I think it also hit my table. There's a scar right here. I think I actually hit my table. I'm not sure where that came from. And it's very comfortable, very easy to manipulate. Groove right here houses your finger really nice, really good grip on this knife. I really like it. I loved carrying it around. I thought it was gonna just be like not that satisfying to carry, but no, actually I loved carrying this knife around. I love using it, and it's also a great talking point. Just bring this knife out, and any knife lover will go like, oh, "What is that?" And you can just say, "Oh, it's my transforming knife. Look at me, I'm a cool boy." See? So this is definitely a really good knife to carry around. I did notice that after cutting, the knife feels a little bit loose in this configuration. I can feel a little bit of a rattle. So I probably have to tighten up the screws. So just keep that in mind as you use this knife, that just make sure that your screws are nice and seated in there so you don't lose any of them if they ever wiggle themselves out by transforming it a lot. Because yeah, it feels a little bit looser than I remember after cutting those water bottles. So just keep that in mind. So overall, I don't think there's really much more I can add to this. I do recommend this knife. I think it's a really fun carry, very interesting, and even if it is kind of gimmicky, I think it's really cool, and it has its practical aspects about it. It's not just a gimmick to go like, oh look, I can do this, and we made this and money grab. It actually has some practical aspects to it, and I really like it. Really enjoyed carrying it. So if you want to spend the money, I say go for it. Or you can also try getting the Civivi one if you want something a little bit more budget friendly. But yes, the WE Typhus, very cool. Thank you so much for watching. I truly appreciate it. Remember to drop a like, and if you like more knife and EC related content, remember to subscribe and go check out some of my other videos that you may enjoy. Thank you so much for watching again, and have a wonderful, blessed day. Bye.